Welcome to the Transportation Committee meeting. I'm going to ask Mr. Valentine if he will do the prayer tonight, and we'll do the pledge after.
Bow your heads, please. Father, we're so thankful that you have allowed us to live another day, Father. We thank you for this beautiful weather you've given us, Father. We ask you to bless each one of us as we make decisions that will affect your people, Lord, and that we make the right decision. And we ask all this in your Son's name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody wishing to speak tonight can sign in with the secretary just before the item that you want to speak on. The first item that we're going to address tonight is an update on the Roddy Road bridges. Mr. Kent Israel from URS will do that. Welcome, Mr. Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Department on the Roddy Road bridges. The Department of Public Works had received a proposal from the design consultant, GSA, to revise the typical section of the bridges on Roddy Road at Shadow Creek and at Bird Allen from 28 foot to 40 foot in accordance with the directions given by the council. It is anticipated that a fee will be agreed to by the end of next week. The plan should be ready for bidding sometime in the fall of '06.
Any questions from anyone?
We need to take any action, Mr. Israel, whatsoever?
Nope.
Okay, fine.
It's just an update, right? Mr. Paterno?
I just wonder, while we are giving updates, if it's okay if I could follow up with the road bond program since we're updating.
That would be great.
And I believe, before Mike starts, I gave a copies of the project update report for this past month to all the council members. So if there's any questions on that, I'll be glad to answer those also.
Everyone has a copy. Mr. Rude, do you have a copy?
Thank you. I just wanted to give a quick update on the process we've been following, a status on the development of road bond priority projects and cost. That projects currently are from the federal and state program, including Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, Long Range Transportation Plan, LRTP, and LDOTD letting schedule have been updated, documented, and mapped for this effort. Meetings were scheduled with all council members, and the meetings have taken place. Priority projects from each meeting have been documented. No, Adrian Thompson, Mr. Thomas, and Mr. McConnell weren't able to attend their scheduled meetings, so we're rescheduling that to get their input. Also, a meeting with state reps and Senator and tentative schedule for next Monday, April 17th, to discuss projects potentially to include in the program. Once this meeting is complete, URS, in conjunction with Mr. Rue, will reevaluate proposed transportation improvements based on all of the input from the council members, state reps, et cetera, and begin to estimate project implementation cost. In order to refine the lists of candidate projects and build consensus, a stakeholder group meeting will be held with members of the Chamber of Commerce, School Board, Fire Police, et cetera, as we deem appropriate, or you deem appropriate, rather. And this will hopefully take place over the next couple of weeks. Results will be taken in consideration in developing the priority candidate projects, and of course we would meet also with CRPC, LDOTD to clarify projects which are imminent for federal and state funding, and discuss candidate projects which are on the state routes relevant to utilizing bond proceeds for local matching or expediting the project development process. And of course we would continue as that process goes through to refine the estimates, project implementation costs throughout toward developing a draft for final approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paterno. Are there any questions? There are no questions. Thank you for the update, and look forward to the meeting Monday night. Item number 5, Roy Latino Drive petition for speed limit reductions from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour and a children at play sign. Is
Bill
that
did.
Mr. Rue?
We just need a motion to take it to the full council. Motion from the, and it's our, DPW's opinion that we should do it, so.
Second.
Any objections? Then the motion carries.
I think they followed all procedures and got the petition signed from all the residents down the road, so all that's been done.
This the meeting, he was at the last meeting and discussed it. Right. Yes, I remember.
He followed up with petition, we have everything
Right.
evaluated and make
Okay.
that recommendation.
All right.
Okay, the next one is the safety advertisement to review, to put on our television. I've been having a lot of calls, we talked about this the last time, subdivision people calling about speeding. And everybody's wanting to have their sign reduced, the speed limit sign reduced from 25 to 15, from 35 to 25. They're asking for speed bumps, they're asking for, enforcement, and I just thought at this time that it would be a good idea for us to kind of do a little advertisement to put in between some of our shows that would just kind of ask people to slow down. This was something that was done hastily, but something that I think that if this transportation committee will allow, that we could have Ozzy put on until we could get something better. But meanwhile, it would call people's attention to the fact that we need to slow down. So Ozzy, if you will, roll it. Thank you, Ozzy. This is just a temporary one. We would really like to put some, words over it instead of the music, but Ozzy and him have not had time to do that yet. But we thought that this would suffice to get the message out, since summer is starting and people are concerned about their children at play. Guys, would anyone like to recommend that we do this?
Yes, I would recommend that we do that as often as possible, and and that they would take the liberty to expand upon it as they deem the ability to do so.
Any objections? Ozzy did say that that they would look into getting some better quality stuff that they can get from different sources that they have, but they just haven't had time to do that. So we will, in the future, try from this transportation committee to get the message out to the people that it is very important for all of our sakes that we slow down. We're busy, and we really need to take a second look. Yes.
I think one suggestion also would, since we have the ability to do that, is to go out to some of these subdivisions that are concerned and people have expressed a concern, and actually take some video footage of the subdivision and those areas, and let people know that there's concern here, there's been some complaints here, and however you want to handle it, whether driving down the subdivision and showing the possible hazards, or sitting there with a camera and showing cars coming by. It just gives a personal touch to these things, and I think sometimes when you do that, it helps people realize that. So anything we do from an education standpoint would be good.
Exactly, and that's where we're going with this, to make the citizens aware of our parish and the needs in our parish, and this is just a quick fix, and we will get something better in the future. Thank you guys for supporting this. I know that the citizens that have been calling in on a regular basis to all of us about this particular need will be delighted to know that we are concerned. Number 7, certificate of substantial completion, 204 intersection improvement phase 2, phase 2A, R.J. Daigle and Sons. Mr. Shaheen, welcome.
Thank you. I'm filling in for Dennis Babin tonight. I'm sorry. What this is the intersection improvements project, phase 2A, that's recently been completed by R.J. Daigle and Sons. That project is substantially complete. There is a punch list of items that is attached to the punch list. As I can appreciate, most of these punch list items have been completed to date. Just to bring you up to date on an issue that we're dealing with right now, one of the intersections is the Duplessis Road intersection at Highway 73. We seem to have a problem with stop signs being taken out by vehicles, so we are working with DOTD to modify the location of the stop sign and maybe add some additional reflectors to that intersection to better illuminate the intersection and hopefully eliminate the problem with vehicles taking out the stop signs. So if I am in order, Ms. Chairman, I would like to recommend that the board approve substantial completion on this project.
Mr. Root, everything looks okay with the punch list? Nothing?
DPW recommends approval.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Any objections? Then the motion passed. Item number 8 is a certificate of substantial completion for the Hope Villa Estates Phase 3.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm going to take care of that one also. That is the Hope Villa project, Barber Brothers Construction. That project also is substantially complete. It also has a punch list attached to it, and all of the punch list items have in fact been addressed to date.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Any objections? Then the motion passed.
Thank you.
Item number 9, certificate of substantial completion and balancing change order, 204 RC-01 Phase 2.
Thank you, Ms. Chairman. I couldn't get
Hi,
Glenn to
Dennis.
take this one. This is requesting your approval of certificate of substantial completion for the 2004 project Phase 2. R.J. Daigle, all the work has been complete. We have punch list items, and those have been completed also. So DPW recommends your approval of substantial completion.
Question, Mr. Dennis.
Sure.
There are some ditch problems along Easley Melanson Road.
Right.
Did we solve those problems?
Yeah, we are aware of that, and we're going to take care of it.
Okay, because there's some gravel and some things that have stopped
Right.
some drainage, and I sent an email, I think,
Yes.
to Bill.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
okay.
yes,
So
we're going to,
I don't see it on the punch list. That's why I want to make sure that it gets taken care of.
Right, right. We're not absolutely sure yet if it's the contractor's responsibility or ours, but we're going to work that out. If they don't, we'll do it, DPW.
Well, right now, it's not raining, but I would
Right.
suggest we get it done as soon as we can. So move.
Second.
Any objections? Then the motion passed.
Okay. I'd like to also, on the next item, your approval of the balance and change order for that project. And
Decrease, huh?
with the balance and change, right, there's a total decrease of $21,246.
So moved. Second.
Any objections? Then the motion passed. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Babin. Okay, under old business, we have the 2004-RC-01 roadway reconstruction project update on Barrier Construction Company. Mr. Miles Bingham,
I tried to get Dennis to take this one, but he didn't want
but he
it.
wouldn't take it. Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
We've submitted to all of the council members a summary of what we've gone through. We've come up with 4 options. One is to accept the work as is and impose a penalty. What this would do is if the pros of this would be that you leave the road in place, you wouldn't inconvenience anyone further. The bad news is that the road is not up to the standard that the parish would want. There's a proposal by Barrier to do some remedial work, about 8,000 linear feet of roadway to be replaced. The pros of this is that Barrier has come forward with this themselves. You could avoid litigation. The cons are that the engineers feel that more work needs to be done, and the rideability would be less than what the parish would expect. It would also have a patch look appearance. The third option is a compromise between the engineers have looked at the same information that Barrier's looked at for their option 2, and we recommend more replacement of roadway. You have about the same issues as you did with the second option, but you would get a better riding road. It would come up to what the parish expects of the road. The cons are, again, you would have a patch-looking job for the first 6 or 7 months. The last option is to reconstruct both roads. The pros are that you would get what you wanted in the beginning, and you would have, I think your constituents would be happier. The con is that the contractor would probably litigate it, and I wish Mr. Babin was here tonight to offer his opinion on this, but in our meetings with him, he said that he felt that there was some exposure to the parish with this option. So with that said, I believe, from what I understand, that he was in favor of option 3, and that would be also what the engineers would recommend.
Yes, guys, I was in some of these meetings myself with Mr. Babin and URS and others, and they talked about it at length, and our attorney feels that the best recommendation for us is number 3. He said that it would probably cost us money to do number 4, but he would leave that decision up to you guys.
It's fine.
Yes.
And the idea behind that, let me make sure I'm understanding, this is what I understand, is that some of the highway is okay, it's on normal standards.
Yes, sir.
In fact,
yes, sir.
A large part of it.
Some of the roadway is
And
acceptable
so,
as is.
therefore, it meets all the standards. And if we require to replace the whole thing, that we would probably be required to uphold the liability of the material that is okay, the work that is done well.
That's correct.
And therefore, by getting them to replace just the portions that are a problem to correct standards, then that would alleviate us being brought into this as much as possible.
Ms. Fontenot.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Higgins back.
Now,
He still has the floor.
Go ahead.
and now, so what we're looking at, number 3, is to take the sections that are the problem and bring them up to standards exactly the way they're supposed to be, right?
Yes, sir.
There's no,
No, if they don't do it correctly a second time, you would make them do it a third time.
okay. This would be just like they would be doing a road. And the only problem you'd have is just coming from the old part to the new part.
You'll have a difference of color in the asphalt. There shouldn't be a bump at the transition.
Okay.
They should make an even transition there. The only difference is, for a while, you'll notice a difference in color.
Okay. But they're going to fix the road like it's supposed to?
Yes, sir.
In number 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Fontenot.
Mr. Higgins back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd be in favor of going with alternative 4, reconstruct both El Landry Road and Henderson Bayou Road. I think the taxpayers ought to get what we paid for, what they paid for. Of course, you list the pros being the rideability to the parish standards and the constituent perception. Like I say, if we patch the road, that's the perception that the constituents are going to see is, well, when we build roads, we patch them instead of build them correctly when we do the overlay and do the final product. I agree there's probably going to be some probable litigation. But for 2 years now, we hadn't had a problem with litigation when there's been a problem on projects. We've jumped out there and we just automatically go ahead and sue. And it's been the precedent of this council to sue, get these projects into court, and let the courts sort them out as far as who's at fault and where the damages are collected and that type thing. So I'm a little surprised now we're getting away from the precedent that's been set for the last 2 years. So that being said, I would make a motion for alternative number 4 to go ahead and have them reconstruct both L. Landry Road and Henderson Bayou.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Go ahead, Ken.
Mr. Shakespeare had to say no.
Well, and I agree with Mr. Hillenbeck 100%. We want a road that's going to be complete, all of it. I don't want us not 1 foot of that road to be improperly done. My understanding, excuse me, is that in alternative number 3 is that all of the road that is properly done is already there, and that we will replace to the fullest extent to what our demands are and our specifications are, all of the parts of the road that are not at the correct specifications. And it will not cost the parish any money. And therefore, that will bring the whole road up to rideability standards of which we've been asking for. Therefore, I think we are doing exactly what Mr. Hillenbeck that you said you were asking for. I see absolutely no reason to tear up the part of the road that, by all concerns, and I've spoken to everybody now, is fine. And so, which by our own legal counsel has said that if we choose to do that, we will probably spend taxpayers' money on replacing that, because in all probability we will be responsible for it, which after speaking with everyone, I understand that fully. So I don't think we're cutting any corners. If these people do not want to replace the part of the road that they did not do properly, bring it to court. And they're going to do it. And whatever it costs for them to make them to do it and do it properly and do it the way that we've recommended, I'm fine with that. Do whatever we need to do to get this road, every foot of it, the way it should be.
That's fine.
And but I think I think it would be irresponsible to take roads that's been accepted by all parties as being met all our specifications, to arbitrarily pick that up and be held in possible litigation for something that I think we don't have a leg to stand on. I don't think that would be prudent for the people of the parish. So therefore, I think number 3 is the thing that we fix the road. I mean, there's 4 categories. There's always some category that goes one way, and there's always some category that goes the other way. And this, to me, by far, is the most prudent thing for the parish and for the people involved.
Ms. Fonda.
Mr. Hillenbeck.
Well, Ken, I disagree with you. Now, if we go with alternative number 3, what we're going to have is we're going to have a road that has a patched appearance. In sections that's been patched. If we go with alternative 4, we're going to have a road that's going to have a continuous smooth finish to it, and there's not going to be any patches involved. I guess I could say like we got on parking lot. Now, again, for 2 years now, when we've had a problem with a project, we had no problem saying we're going to sue, we're going to go to court. Of course, on the projects we've done that, of course, that was the local firm. Now, all of a sudden, we've got a firm outside the parish that was the engineer involved, and all of a sudden now we want to settle, and we want we want to negotiate in private meetings, which I was not invited to attend as a member of this committee. And I remind you all that in May 2004, after we had a selection process where the local firm came out number one in this selection process, we awarded this to firm number 2, PEC, who's involved in this project. I'm not sure where the quality control was going on when the road was being built, and there may be some liability on the parish's part. I'm not sure. Maybe some problems if maybe we didn't document everything we should have documented at the time on recommendations that were made by the parish department. And maybe this will help us improve our process where in the future, if there is a problem from the parish's part, that maybe we'll improve on what we need to do as well in order to protect the taxpayer. And but I say that I like the idea of having a finished road. It doesn't look like a patched road. And if we go with alternative 3, that's what it's going to look like, patched road. And that's for the amount of money we paid. That's not what we ought to accept on behalf of the taxpayers. Plain and simple.
First of all, Mr. Hillensbeck, we're not talking about engineering. We're talking about a construction company that failed to do its job. And that's what's in question right now here, and that's what we're dealing with. Our attorney, when he explained to us the legalities, and that's what we have to rely on because he's our attorney, and he's going to give us the best recommendation. We had all the engineers that we have supervising these projects that heard what Mr. Babin said. Mr. Babin called me at 4:30 this afternoon and said he apologized that he could not be here tonight. He intended to. And he told me what he recommended, and he told me why. Yes, we can do number 4, and we can get them to go back and do everything over again. It is his feelings that if we go to court with this, that the road part that is already well done, the parts of the road that are done correctly, we would end up having to go back and pay. Now that's where the cost is going to come from, because he feels like that's what the judge would say, that if we can make them go back and do what they have done wrong, and they can be made to pay for that. But if they go back and do the whole thing, it could come out, if we end up going back to court, that we would have to pay for what was done right. And that's the advice on the attorney. And all we're here tonight to do is to give you the recommendations of what went down in the negotiations and trying to, not negotiations, we're trying to get this solved. We have a problem. We've identified the problem. PEC has withheld their payment. These people are looking to get paid their money. Their payment has been withheld because the roads are not done. And these guys here have worked with them to try to come up with some solutions. And these are the 4 options that they're giving to us. And it's up to us to make a decision on which one we're going to take on the advice of all the people. Mr. Shakespeare.
A couple of things I'd like to clarify. First of all, and correct me if I'm wrong, have this council brought forth any litigation the last two years? Or has litigation been instituted prior to us? It's all been instituted prior to us? Or
No.
What litigation?
There's been litigation
What is
on
it?
projects. I didn't
What
say
is-
road
what is-
projects. But
What is it? You said road, you implied road project.
no, I didn't
What
say
is it?
road projects.
Well, what
Okay,
is it?
so no-
What is it?
Bulkhead project, we're moving forward with that.
okay, so
We got
That's
courthouse litigation going on right now.
Been on
Well-
4 weeks now, too.
No, we didn't sue.
I-
This council sued.
I just want to clear one thing up. Excuse me.
Yes.
Somebody
Mr.
please
Shakespeare has the
name.
floor.
First of all, we don't have any litigation that this council has brought forward. Okay, let's clear that up. First thing. And in fact, we've been in numerous meetings to try to end litigation and try to bring it to a head. Second thing, I would like to explain, Mr. Biles, the idea of a patch. And it's not your typical 20 feet where you patch a road.
No, sir.
When we're talking about a patch here, we're talking about stretches of road that is how long?
The minimum would be 100 feet, but most of them are more closely to, somewhere between 500 and 2,000 feet.
Okay, so and when you see a road now, and as I've gone over the interstate not too long ago, they had, toward Mississippi, they had overlaid the road, and later on they'd come back and had done this. And it's just like when you do a regular road, it's a continuation. And I think the misnomer here is that it says it's a patch-like appearance because of different colors in the asphalt for a period of time until they blend. But the road integrity should be just like a new road.
Yes, sir.
Whenever they finish. That's what the specifications are. So we will get, I want to make sure the people of the parish know that we will get, we're expecting and we will receive a new road, except for the color, until it blends when this thing is done.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Make sure we know that. And then the other thing is that before this road project has gone through, and maybe, I don't know if Mr. Root needs to ask this or not, did we have a process in place that we have now to go through and implement these regulations, restrictions, specifications to make sure that we have this program in before, or was it less stringent before than it is now?
It was much less. We never really had that much of a problem before until this project, and had a lot of reasons for it. I don't think particularly the contractor per se. It's just the situation the contractor in and the manpower he used. But since that time, in fact, during this time, we actually began a program of picking up our quality assurance and quality inspection program. URS is in charge of it now. All our projects in the future, URS is the project manager with their RPR on the job site, watching over for the parish on every aspect of the construction. This is something we didn't do before. So again, our quality assurance program has changed in the last few months since this program, and I can guarantee you that this type of situation won't happen again.
Yes, and so and that's what we're trying to understand is that we're trying to make sure, and this was something that has never been in place by the parish in the past. We've never monitored things to the extent that we're doing now, the program that you have in place, and that we have substantially improved the way that we're doing it. And so for all future projects, and started I think halfway through this one, and all future projects are going to be better. And so I just want people to know that we're working very hard to make sure our quality control is there. And that's something that's been expressed by the Transportation Committee and the full council, and that we've given URS as our engineer advisors carte blanche as to establish a program that will ensure that the people of the parish get proper roads. So those are just some things I wanted to clear up to let people know that we have had assurances by your company, which we employ you to make good decisions, is that it's going to be a completed road. It's not going to be a patchwork of roads when we finish. This is just the most logical thing for us to do. However, I will pledge to you that if it's not done properly at that time and they balk at bringing it up to proper standards, we will go through whatever litigation that is needed to bring them up to proper standards, and I will back that 100%.
Ms. Fonda.
Mr. Valentine had his hand up.
Well, let Mr. Hillensback.
No, go ahead, George.
Well, my point is and I don't know what Ms. Hillensback is referring to specifically, but if it has to do with drainage and all that, that's really a drainage board situation. It's not a transportation situation. And I don't know if there's been litigation, if we've actually brought litigation against Mr. Shaheen, who he's talking about, GSA. But the point being is, if we did it on attorney's recommendation, administration recommendation, and it's not a lynch mob situation. And most of that typically takes place in executive session. I think this is healthy that Barrier Construction came forward because they knew they had a problem, and they did this situation, and so they come with alternatives, which in the past we haven't been getting alternatives. Somebody wants to solve something, they can solve it by bringing us alternatives. So give us an opportunity, and I am probably going to withdraw my second, but I'm going to allow Mr. Hillens back because if I withdraw it, he won't be able to talk. So I'll let Mr. Hillens back go ahead and discuss what he needs to discuss now.
Okay, thank you, George. Ms. Fontenot, I disagree with you and Kent both about the engineering. The engineering fees on the road project covers both the design and also covers the quality control during the construction. And yeah, the parish has a responsibility in that. However, parish is out there on a part-time basis checking in, where the engineering firm is out there with a construction supervisor, boots on the ground, full-time. And and I understand there is some discussion about who is at fault. Is it Barrier's fault or is it PEC's fault? But it just appears to me that we, obviously, the way we're handling possible litigation, because I know there have been alternatives come forward on other litigated projects, that we obviously have what we have here is a double standard.
Ms. Fonda.
Mr.
Go ahead, let Kim check.
Okay.
Now,
Mr. Shakespeare.
I have a problem because the engineer that was hired on this project, PEC, has stated there's a problem. They've accepted responsibility for the problem. They've identified the problem. They've identified and they've withheld money, which is their responsibility. And we're holding them responsible. If the construction company does not agree and does not come forward, then ultimately it is the engineering company that is responsible. They either have to get someone else to do it or they have to do what they need to do. And they have accepted that responsibility. And I don't know what else you can ask them to do. They said, yes, it is our responsibility. We signed a contract. We are responsible. We had a problem. We're giving you all, and generally perceived that it was a workmanship problem, whether it was correctly reviewed or not, or inspected or not, and that it needed to be fixed. And this is the way that everyone has agreed would be the best way to fix it. And they've accepted that. And they said if the construction company does not want to participate and fix it, they're going to move on and get someone else. So, I mean, I don't know what else we can ask them to do. And yeah, I think it's great. Here we are. We have a company that accepted responsibility for this. We've pointed out some things that were wrong. They didn't run away. They didn't say sue me. They said, let's sit down. Let's see what we need to do to fix it. And in any type of construction you have, that's the way it should be. I not only, I applaud them for taking that stance and accepting responsibility for it and trying to get things fixed. And I see no shortcuts here. URS has assured us there is no shortcuts in this procedure, and that the end product is going to be what the people of the parish is expected. So we have a company that's taken responsibility for their job. We've had a method and a procedure that people have, that we have hired, has agreed is the best possible way to proceed, along with our attorney. And it should not cost the parish any money, and the people are going to get the road that they have expected. And I think we need to move forward with it.
Patch Road.
Mr. Valentine, you want to say something?
What I want to say is I'm going to withdraw my second and make a motion that we go ahead because of Mr. Babin's recommendation, which I was not aware of, and URS's joint recommendation that we do compromise 3.
And I second that.
Mr. Lambert.
Mr. Miles, would it be right that if we go with this phase 3 or whatever, warranty, we normally have a year warranty on the roads. Could we get maybe some additional warranty since it's a patchwork? And I say
You would get a warranty from the end of when they did the remedial work of a year.
a year from when they finish.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we would still have our warranty on it.
Yes, sir.
So we have a motion and a second to accept, to recommend item number 3, the possible compromise to replace portions of the road. Do we have any objections?
I object.
One objection. The motion passed.
Of course, now that's to take it to the full council.
That's to go to the full
That's
council
correct.
list at the next meeting. Okay, I do have one before I can get to you, Mr. Shakespeare. President Hughes, we were supposed to have an update tonight on the impact fee. Do you have a revision on that one? Bill has that one?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. If we'd like to bring that up under new business.
Under new?
And it's actually a conceptual plan for impact fee expenditure, how we're going to spend the impact fees. And we'll hand it out, and I'd like to have a discussion on that tonight.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Mr. Shakespeare has some old business.
Okay. We've been going back in the River Region Caucus. We've had our program that we're trying to get some support for 3127. They will be, and I'm on the subcommittee to meet with all of the adjoining parishes, I think 12 parishes, to get a consensus of exactly where we're going to head on this. And it's going to be April the 18th, and I'm going to be out of town on vacation, and I would like for somebody to be able to represent us, if we could have a volunteer or two. And Mr. President, if we could have someone from the administration. Oh, Bill, have someone for the administration. It's going to be April 18th at 6 o'clock at St. James Courthouse on the West Bank.
Is that all, Mr. Shakespeare?
Yes.
Okay. Under old business, I just wanted to tell everybody that we had made a resolution on March 23rd that we would commit to some work on 73 where the sewer lines and stuff, and Mr. Eddie Lambert sent a letter to us telling us that he had notified Mike Skiro of the Department of Transportation that we've done that, so that they're moving on. I think he's planning to meet with them shortly. He's trying to set up a meeting so that he can meet with them to move on with this. So just want to let everybody know that. Also, we're going to start with new business right now. Anybody with new business? Councilman Valentine?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Chairman Fontenot. Mr. Bill, Mr. Rue, I had been in contact with the Cobblestone Residents Association subdivision in front of Dutchtown High School, and I think they've been in touch with DPW and talking with you about reducing the speed limit on Cobblestone Avenue from 25 to 15 miles an hour. And there's also been some discussion dealing with speed bumps, which they also included in this petition. I want to say not speed bumps, speed humps. Something new, I think, that the DPW had discussed with them that y'all looking at the possibility of. And I think you might want to elaborate on that. I think there's one thing, I think the speed limit has to be reduced to 15. At least that's what they was led to believe, but we want to reduce that anyway. But there's also, I think you want to do a couple of pilot programs, just 2. Is that right?
Yes, sir. What we're looking at, a maximum of 2 subdivisions to be evaluated for the possibility of putting speed humps into the subdivision. Now, speed hump differs from a speed bump in that a speed hump has a inclination where you go up onto the hump, you go for a certain distance, and then off of the hump. And it's designed as per the type of road, as per the speed limit, where if you go on the speed limit or just 10 miles above the speed limit, there's no damage to the vehicles. It's really no effect. Now, very little effect, but if you're going an excessive speed through there, you will find an effect. We're looking at, like I said, a couple of pilot programs, and what we're trying to do is work a cooperative endeavor agreement with the subdivision, where the subdivision will pay for the material to construct this speed hump, and DPW install it and maintain it, and evaluate it for performance. And if it works well, then we may extend that to other locations.
But there is a joint cost situation with the subdivision association, and of course, naturally, we want at least 90 to better approval rate of all the people that live within those subdivisions, I'm sure. And I do have that bill. I'll give to Ms. Chairman Fondo, and she'll make sure that you get after the meeting. Actually, we'll have to let Bill look at this, verify it first, then bring it back to us. If I'm not mistaken, right? That would do, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I had, Ms. Fondo. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one other thing. Bill, there is a business, I guess, that's on the right down on Highway 73. It's a daycare center, and the entrance is on actually a Parish road, not on 73. And I guess there's a traffic problem there. But primarily that, I guess, was that primarily approved by DPW, the entrance, or is that planning and zoning? Ms. Fondo handed this email from a constituent of mine that is asking, and I guess I'll take this opportunity to ask about it.
Most of that is if it's entering onto the Parish Road itself.
Yes.
The DPW looks at and evaluates it's a covered inspection in most cases right there. And planning and zoning covered inspector usually looks at that. Now,
we can't really deny that for maybe unless there's a safety reason involved.
Right.
Okay,
I'll have to look at it.
I'll check into it further.
Right.
I'll get you some more information. I don't want to take up the time of the committee to do that. Thank you, Ms. Fondo.
Any other new business?
Yes, that's fine.
Councilman Hills-Beth.
Thank you. Bill, Lynch Trailer Park down on Highway 929, little road that goes back into Trailer Park. It's been requested that we look at doing a catch basin there on the road itself, where the Trailer Park Road connects with Highway 929 as you're turning east, going back toward Highway 44. As they're bringing mobile homes in and out, in and out of the park. It's such a tight turn there. They're blocking traffic, creating a safety hazard and inconvenience for people in the area. You think we could maybe take a look at that and see about doing a catch basin there?
We'll make a work request and look at it, evaluate it, and then respond back to you.
Okay. And the other issue is I've had a request that we do some new signage in Rhonda Place. A lot of the old signs are faded and completely discolored. We can take a look at that. Appreciate it.
The same thing. We evaluate it, have the sign crew go through.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it.
Mr. Shakespeare, you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like, been a request by the Airport Commission off of Loosemore, the regional airport. At the end of Loosemore Road, there's a small section of highway that goes from Loosemore to the airport itself, and it's been a private road of the airport, and they have made a formal request to take it into the parish system, and I wanted to, make that formal request to take it into the system. And Bill, is there anything? I know I'd sent in tentative request through DPW, and I just wanted to find out the process that needed to go in timetable that it would take to find out whether it would be eligible to go into the system.
It'll have to go back to planning to get a recommendation from a planning commission, which would come back to the transportation or to the full council to either accept or deny their recommendation, which you have the right to go either way with it. What I would suggest goes to the planning commission, from the planning commission back to the transportation committee, so you can agree to the recommendation of the planning commission and then take it to the full council for a vote.
Okay. And Liz, can you put that on planning? and have that on the next meeting so that we can address that. Thank you.
Councilman Valentine.
Question, Mr. Shakes, now, Kent. Last time I back that road was in bad shape. Have they repaired it, or?
I don't know, that's why.
Okay, because I mean, I would
That-
think we would need to bring that up to standard before we would.
That's
Bring
why I
that in,
wanted,
right?
that's why I wanted DPW
Okay,
to take
all
a
right.
look at it
Right.
and see what we needed to do for the process.
It has been repaired from when it had the construction project out there.
Right.
And it's to a state standard. It's the road surface is to a state standard also. They refurbished it. So again, we'll reevaluate it for the planning commission, and then take it back to you.
Any other new business? Then, Mr. Rue, you're up next.
The parish president asked that we tried to get it onto the agenda, and we're late. But what we wanted to do, not waste any more time. One of the things, this has to do with the transportation impact fee, specifically not how it's collected, but how it's going to be spent. Now, this is the administration's plan for spending that money. In it, it's going to go, well, this plan is, like I say, it's conceptual. It's on the table. It's something that we can put there and say, let's start talking about, and it's fairly specific. And what I like to do is just read it, go through it. At any point in time, if you want to stop and discuss it, we feel free to do it. Make some notes, and let's discuss it at the end or any time during the reading. The recommendations: all of Ascension Parish should be included as impact district number one single impact district. All of the revenue generated from impact fees shall be spent directly or as matching share for other federal or state funds for implementation of the Highway Corridor Preservation Plan. The Highway Corridor Preservation Plan, and this is something that's part of, first suggested in the transportation study done by Krebs LaSalle, Master Transportation Plan. The purpose of a corridor preservation or rights-of-way plan is to protect the character of the area of a corridor for future planned infrastructure improvements. The purpose of this effort is to protect the existing transportation network from overdevelopment, development encroachment, unregulated or inappropriate access, etc., until necessary planned transportation improvements can be funded and implemented. In this fashion, the public realizes the commitment of the government to make the necessary improvements, and equally important, the public can make future development decisions based upon future infrastructure improvements. Items 1 through 5 below, which is on the other page, addresses the route selection characteristics. The plan requires that our strategy be limited to mostly state and federal routes within Ascension Parish, but it's not limited to only those routes. If local routes meet the requirements, which is parish routes, for addition to the Master Transportation Plan, they shall be also included in the Corridor Preservation Plan. Item 6 on the next page addresses the recommended ordinances that can greatly assist the implementation of the Corridor Preservation Plan. Special consideration should be noted for the immediate implementation of the enhanced setback ordinance and also the access management ordinance. And that's something that will immediately protect some of these corridors from some of the subdivisions coming in, or future subdivisions might come in over the next 6 months or whenever. Items 7 and 8 on the next page addresses the public notification process, whereas number 9 explains the adoption process. So we go in a fair amount of detail how the process of putting together a highway corridor preservation plan works. The remaining items addresses the action plan, which implements the corridor preservation plan. In order to ensure an effective corridor preservation plan and acceptance by the community, each of these items in the action plan must be considered. As part of the adoption process, it is quite possible that other socioeconomic factors may arise that should be addressed as well, unless any or all of the factors are addressed, the integrity of the corridor preservation plan could be compromised or at least challenged. So again, this is what we're suggesting here is to get into a detailed, comprehensive plan to protect these corridors. I'm not going to read the whole list. Again, this is fairly detailed on this page, the development of a corridor preservation or right-of-way plan. These are the things that we have to go through to get this action done. If you go over to the third page, I'm going to continue route selection. The route selections for inclusion in the corridor preservation plan shall be identical to those included as priority unfunded or underfunded projects in the final Master Transportation Priority Projects Plan to be adopted by the Parish Governing Authority. And then this is something that URS is working on right now, and we in consultation with them. The final decision on what project to be included in the plan is what we're talking about here. Only those routes identified as such shall be included in the corridor preservation plan and available for funding from impact fees, either totally or in part, through cost sharing. Both the Master Transportation Plan as amended from the Krebs-LaSalle Plan, if necessary, and the Corridor Preservation Plan shall be adopted together. What we're talking about here is, to identify, just like you're going to identify if you go with a parish tax, half-cent sales tax, exactly what project you are going to spend that money on. What we're proposing is the exact same projects are the ones that you're going to spend the impact fees for. So the public and everybody knows exactly what you're going to be doing with that money. The Master Transportation Priority Projects Plan. Final Master Transportation Plan projects shall be presented to the public through public hearings for general acceptance. Funding for these projects shall be from a parish-wide half-cent sales tax to be placed before the public in the fall of 2006. The Corridor Preservation Plan shall immediately begin the process of corridor preservation upon the supermajority vote of Parish Council. Again, this is something to move the process forward while we're waiting for tax money and the Master Transportation Plan to be implemented. Preliminary recommendation for projects for inclusion in the Master Transportation Priority Projects Plan and the Corridor Preservation Plan. This is something that, again, the URS is doing, but we already know that these are the projects, some of the priority projects that's going to be in the plan. All of this can be tweaked. Some can be taken out, some can be added. This is just a suggestion that we know is going to be part of the plan. LA 42 from US 61 to Livingston Parish, an enhancement of the present project. Complete it and actually add more lanes. LA 431, Livingston Parish, all the way to US 61, multi-lanes. LA 30, LA 44 to US 61, multi-lanes. LA 44, I-10 to River Road, an enhancement of the present project. Add more lanes. LA 44, LA 61 to 42, multi-lanes. LA 22 extension, I-10 to River Road via the Ormet property, multi-lanes. That's to make a commercial corridor from the I-10 to River Road, hopefully take some of the industrial traffic off of Highway 44. Roddy Road, LA 621 to US 61, enhancement to standards. In other words, continue our road widening all the way to US 61 off of Roddy Road. LA 73, LA 74 to LA 30, multi-lanes, and that's completing the loop around the parish. LA 73, I-10 intersection at LA 74, another interstate intersection. LA 621, LA 431 to LA 73. The whole distance of 621 as the main corridor from 431, extension of Livingston Parish to I-10. Industrial Corridor, St. Landry Road extension, new highways. LA 3127 extension to LA 1, new highway and evacuation route. LA 70, LA 22 to Sunshine Bridge, multi-lanes. LA 42 extension to I-10, an old project that if we have the money and if the engineering proves that it's the proper thing to do, is go back and look at that extension to Highway 42 to I-10 with an interchange on I-10. And also something that really hasn't been looked at too much, but the administration feels is imperative for the growth of the parish, and that is the establishment of frontage roads along I-10 at selected locations and on-off access to I-10, very similar to Texas. and it's an access, not only traffic improvement, but also a major, what we think a major business motivation for economic development, all along I-10, the I-10 corridor. Respective funding responsibilities. Transportation impact fees, estimated $2.5 million per year, possible leverage with federal funding. Expended for the planning, preliminary engineering, engineer design studies, land surveys, and alignment studies, for right-of-way acquisition, and for minor and incidental construction to relieve immediate problems until major road rehabilitation as per the master transportation plan projects construction is implemented. A half-cent transportation sales tax as per the master transportation plan. Estimated, and they have it X'd out, you can write in, we estimate roughly $8.4 million per year. Income from that, bonded for the term and amount needed to complete the projects within the master transportation plan and retired thereafter. Some of these to include, but not limited to the following: new road or lane construction, widening of existing road, new bridges, new drainage facilities, purchase and installation of traffic signals, and so on and so forth. Everything that's needed to give you a major highway improvement along some of these corridors as per the master transportation plan. Again, this is a conceptual plan put out. We're trying to handle some of the objections to the plan in that again, we don't want to get into the collection of the fees. That's another issue to be taken up at another meeting. What we're interested in is how the money can be spent. What we want to make sure that the public and the council knows that our plan is to be specific, so that everybody knows if you pay into the plan after 25 years, this is what you're going to get from it. And the impact fees are made for, actually it's not designed not for something that you need right now, but it's designed to put some type of fund out there to benefit the future, the 10 and 15 years from now, after the parish becomes 75% developed. Because 75% development, you want to have something done to account for the problems you're going to have then, not the problems you're going to have now. The regular project DOTD is doing and the parish is doing should handle the problems right now. And that's going to be ongoing with DOTD projects. What we're recommending here is not only a 3-lane, we're actually looking at 4 lanes of some of these major highways. Again, we're looking at what can benefit, what's the problem we're going to have in the year 2020, and what kind of capacity projects we need to have completed by 2020 to handle those problems. So again, the parish president and I is open to any discussion.
Councilman Chexton.
The only, the main big question that I have is that the first line, it says all of Ascension Parish should be included as impact district number 1. It was recommended when they did this traffic impact is that we would have 2, 3, or 4 districts, and we got together and voted to have 3 districts and divided them up so that monies can be spent in the areas that are generated. And I'm curious as to see why we're getting away from that now, since it was highly recommended.
The main reason, Councilman, if I may, the whole idea here is to not say, okay, how are we going to divvy up the money per district? What we're saying is this money is going to be paid for these projects. The project is parish-wide. So now you're not limited to say, well, how are we going to work the money in this district? How are we going to work it this way? If it's a one district, and if you identify the project you're going to do with that money, again, it's just very similar to if you take, for instance, the green plan, light plan in Baton Rouge, they specifically named the projects in their bond issue, in their tax, to be paid for and to be worked. What we're saying is the impact fees should complement that plan. Only those roads are going to be included in the corridor preservation plan, because the corridor preservation plan is to get everything set up so you can come back and do your major road rehabilitation. So instead of identifying an area and an amount of money for that area, you actually identifying road projects throughout the parish and saying we're going to spend the impact fee per all of these projects. So you got projects throughout the parish. Every part of the parish has a major project that's going to benefit the traffic. And it doesn't tie us up and get into a lot of problems on this, say like in San Amon. Major problem in San Amon is not the people getting out of San Amon, it's when those people get close to I-10 or get close to Airline Highway in the northern part of Parish. What we need to do is establish a major construction corridor between San Amon and I-10, which we're doing with some of these projects. Again, we're tying the spending to the projects, and the projects parish-wide in every district, every part of the parish, to benefit the overall problems that we're going to have 20 years from now. So that's the reason behind it. We think it's a much simpler deal. It tells the public exactly what you're going to spend the money for, and it coincides with the half-cent sales tax with the same projects. This is just the beginning, and it kicks off the plan to improve all our highways.
Will this be put on a ballot like the half-cent sales tax?
We're not recommending that, and the reason so is, number one, they don't have to. Supermajority can make it happen. The major reason we want to make it happen by supermajority is the fact that we can start implementing and getting the setback enhancement ordinances and all of this stuff that has to be done for corridor preservation. We can get that started now, immediately, protecting our corridors. Because I remind you, every day we wait, another subdivision is coming online, another business is coming within 20 feet of a major highway. If this was done 10 years ago, I'm telling you, we would have major projects underway right now. Because encroachment onto next to these highways is the main problem that DOTD cannot get enough money to go in there and do a 4-lane highway. They have to revert back to a 2-lane. If we had this corridor preservation intact several years ago, 10 years ago, we would have multi-lane highways right now. So that's the reason it kicks it off a lot quicker. It's a long process just to get this done. So,
I understand that, but we're dealing with the people's money, and it's everybody's money, because it doesn't matter. I mean, I have children and I have land, If they go and build, they're going to have to pay for this. And the thing about it is this. We can say this is what we're going to do, okay? Mm-hmm. People don't trust us. They really don't trust us. I don't trust us. That's just the truth of the matter, and when you put it on a ballot and you've got these things listed and they vote for it, then that's where it has to go. I mean, we're being asked right now to tax people and say, hey, trust us. We're going to do all of these things in the next 25 years. And I don't think that the people's going to buy that. Just a minute, Mr. Hughes. I'm not finished yet. The first one on the list is LA 42. The majority of the people in Ascension Parish don't go there. So if that's where the first money is put, you may start, well, I'm just saying, if that would be the first project, you might would have a lot of repercussions from the other people. It's so widespread with one district.
No, well, you see, again, it's a lot easier to understand. And what you want to do in corridor preservation, the number one thing you do, and common sense is going to tell you, if you have Highway 42 or Highway 44 or 431, the first thing you do is go into the undeveloped land and do corridor preservation, undeveloped land throughout all of these roads. Okay? You go out and get the land that you don't have a structure that's in the way you have to relocate. You get the cattle land, you get the farm land, and again, it's right of way, and the property owner free to use it. It's his. It's just like a pipeline going through his place. Free to use it, but nobody comes in there, he sells it for a subdivision, it's locked up. We have our rights there for transportation, for widening of that road, improving that road. So again, we're not going to say, okay, we're going to go on Highway 42 and just use every penny we get right now. We're going to use Highway 42-1, and then the second one we're going to move over to 431. It's going to be a shotgun approach. Everything going out to undeveloped land on all of these highways, and getting something done, because that's the easiest and simplest thing to do. Then you revert back to some of the harder properties. You get the easiest property, but again, it's be a shotgun type effect where you get out on all the roads at one time.
President Hughes, you wanted to say something?
Well, and keep in mind, y'all, that one of the things you have to do in an impact fee ordinance, you just don't do it and it stays the same. You have to periodically, if you remember when Mr. Duncan first came, probably 14, 15 months ago now, one of the key ingredients of this, it has to be reviewed annually. And once you put into that plan document, it becomes part of your parish law. I mean, in other words, when you do these impact fees and you say, this is your plan for these impact fees, and that's for 5 years, say. And I think Mr. Duncan then recommended every 5 years or every 3 years. You've got to review that, whoever's in positions of decision-making then, and you look at what's been done based on that plan, if there's adjustment needs to be made. Now, if you guys as a transportation committee, the council as a whole, or citizens have a better plan, but we got to start making some decisions. You know, it truly is a time for choosing and moving forward, because we're getting farther behind. And just like Mr. Root pointed out, in just the areas of acquiring right-of-way for future road widening projects, that's getting more and more expensive as the value of this land goes up and as more developments are taking place on these major state roads. And so it seems very prudent to try to buy that at today's prices. Now, is it perfect? No. We're not going to come up with a perfect plan now because we're 20 years later than we should have been doing this. We've got some, but we're going to give you a map here in the very near future. We're trying to make sure it's pretty accurate. We're not going to have a perfect science here, but we're going to show you a map within your various council districts that is trying to show how much of your land has already been developed within your district and what's still available for development. Now, it's not going to be completely accurate because no one's kept a record of these 80-something thousand parcels of land. The assessor has it based on assessment, but to try to go through and identify every home or subdivision, 20 acres or more, is a challenge. My GIS office has been working on that so that you can see within districts. Some of you, I've heard you say, well, it's too late for an impact fee because my land's all been developed. We don't have any district that's developing. If you'll talk to, I encourage all of you to talk to Michael Sandry in CSRS. You'll see he's saying, Mr. Hughes, you guys haven't even started yet. You know, you doubled your population between 76 and 05. It's going to double faster next time. He said, what's going to happen, in his opinion, as our engineer review agency for planning and development, is that as more and more of our land becomes more valuable and more expensive, but then people are going to try to sell it, and developers are going to look at density to recoup their costs. And so you're going to have more parcels become available for development because of the smaller parcels of land within the development. So you got a lot of issues here, but you're going to see that probably less than half of the parish is developed right now. You know, based on what is available, our total square mile is 292 square miles. Now, that doesn't mean that every property owner is willing to sell it and wants to develop it, but you're finding each generation seems to be more apt to sell the family land and, you know, to take the money than to keep it, the previous generations. And I think we all understand that what's been happening with some of that. And so that's Mr. Simon. I encourage all of you to talk to Michael, and just so he can give you his viewpoint on some of this.
I just want to come back to Mr. Scheckschneider's first question. I don't think I understood exactly, but when we first started talking about impact fees, one of the go-tos to this transportation committee was to divide it in districts, because Mr. Duncan, who is supposed to be the guru of impact fees, said that they're challenged across the nation, and that the best thing you had to do, you couldn't go with a single district. I mean, that's the information that this council got. And that was one of the first charges, was to divide it up into districts. I mean, we talked about that for a couple of meetings before we even come to a finalization on 3 different districts. So am I hearing from the administration now we don't think that's a problem? Because the guru of impact fees said it is a problem.
Sometimes the famous man said imagination is much more important than education. What we're doing is we're trying to think out of the box. And you can go with a single district. If you go with a single district and you tie this into a corridor preservation, tied into a master transportation plan, identify a project, exactly what you're going to spend the money on, when you're going to spend it, and how you're going to spend it, then it's okay. Now you get into
that's going to withstand litigation. Is that what you're telling me?
I think so. I don't see why it shouldn't.
Okay, I mean,
But again, all of this,
Duncan's opinion on that. We did pay
all
him
of
some
this
money.
is hypothetical and conceptual.
Yeah, I mean, I think Parish President would be wise to get.
Oh,
his
well, we
opinion on
did,
that.
George. And going back to your comment, Mr. Duncan and them, St. Tammany passed theirs January a year ago. They have one district for the whole parish. And they
Changing
recommended that. They had a drainage impact fee and a transportation. And they're looking at making some adjustments to it. But when Mr. Duncan first came here, January a year ago, I think it was, he actually recommended probably one district like they did in St. Tammany in conversation. But then as as this issue's evolved in 15 months now, different meetings, some members of the council, as I recall, felt uncomfortable at one district, so we were asked to talk to Mr. Landry as well as Mr. Duncan and Mr. Sanjay, our whole team of people working with us on these issues of development on multiple districts.
Right.
And so
I was under the impression the whole time it had to be multiple districts.
No,
Now,
no,
the first
sir.
time I saw it could be one district. But did not St. Tammany had some litigation against them that obviously failed?
St. Tammany has had the impact fee in effect since January of 2005.
But was there some litigation brought to them that's outstanding or no?
I
read
hadn't
something
asked
in
President
some
Davis.
business,
President Davis and his planning person came over and met with us some during this process, and they did one for drainage and one district for transportation. Now, they are looking at making some changes, and of course their parish is 3 times our size geographically. I mean, they're like 800-something square miles, I think 870. So I think that's part of the problem. Obviously, you got 872 square miles and you got one district. People maybe in the northern part of their parish, right below the Mississippi line, saying, wait a minute, we're not getting enough of this. It's going too much to our side out.
Right.
We're about a third of that size, 292 square miles. So those are some demographic differences. Plus, their population was about 210,000 before the storm. They were about 2.5 size.
Yeah, well, I don't know what that all has to do with impact.
They are talking about some changes to it, but they
Right.
started out with one district, and Mr. Duncan and Associates is the consulting firm they use to help do that.
Okay. I just would like to see that, because that's all I've been told. I'm kind of getting hit with this, saying you can have one district. And I was always under the impression we couldn't do that. So
What we're proposing is to not look at some of the details, but look at the conception of it. If you go back and look at, say, okay, we're pretty happy with corridor preservation with the use of this money. We're pretty happy with the project that's included in this. We like that part. We don't understand the single impact fee district or the legality of it. If you go to the back end and say, I'm okay with all of this, let's see how we can make this happen, make it legal. Okay, let's make it work because we like the back end. Now, if you don't like the back end, with the whole thing is off the table. So that's the discussion is, do you use the money for corridor preservation, tied into specific projects, that's also tied in to the master transportation plan that you're going to go after, or we proposing to go for half-cent sales tax and end of year to tie in to actually doing the construction of all the corridors you're preserving right now, protecting, so you can do the project. And we contend that it's a win-win because, say, for instance, if you pass this impact fee and we use the money to start buying corridors, buying right-of-ways along these major highways that everybody knows something has to be done. If not today, in 10 years and 20 years, something has to be done. If you bind up the right-of-way, use the impact fee for that. Come in the following year, and the people of Ascension Parish say, we don't want to spend a half-cent sales tax for construction projects. Well, guess what? You still win. You bind up right-of-way, you're paying for a lot of engineering along these roads. DOTD would jump over their hills to get over here and do some projects because you already donating the right-of-way to them, you're donating a lot of engineering to them, and so you head above a lot of other places because you're able to donate that to the state to say, come on, build us a three-lane highway instead of a single-lane improved highway. So like that, we still got something done. It improves everybody in the parish, and we're moving forward.
Mr. Jackson.
I know Mr. Rue is right in meetings with DODT, especially with Highway 44. They said if the parish could get right-of-way, they would expand that. They would have expanded that project and up to 3 or 4 lanes and would have been ready to go with that. And it still goes back to with the number of districts, because I was at the meeting with Mr. Duncan, and my recollection was that they had requested multiple districts. And all I would like to have is a letter from Mr. Landry and Mr. Duncan endorsing this as equaling muster and ready to move forward with and meet all their criteria, so that we can be assured that they've been consulted on this and this leads, to their endorsement of it, and I would be fine with it.
And again, to go back and reiterate, I think a critical point is that I think in other places, I don't think they approached it for defining exactly how they're going to spend the money, and that's why it was best to separate in districts so each district could define what they want to spend that money on. Well, as a parish council, you're defining projects throughout the parish, major projects that the parish-wide they're going to spend it on. So that's the little bit of difference of why you do several instead of one.
I can accept going in this direction, but I just want to have a letter from them endorsing this as to meeting muster that it's supposed to for traffic impact fees.
Councilman Hillens.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Fontenot. Highway 42, the last count I saw, and I believe it was last year's count, had a car count of 20,000 vehicles per day. So I can understand why it's up number one at the list. The question I have is, you've got it listed as enhancement of the present project. What project, Bill? Because
that's the ongoing funded $8 million to $9 million. That's for the multi-laning of Highway 42. We all know that that's not enough money to do exactly what we want to do with 42. Actually, what 42 and what we're proposing is not think in terms of what we have to do, but think in terms of what we need to do in the next 20 years. 42, 431, those roads don't need to be 3-lane, they need to be 4-lane. I'm not a big proponent of 3-laning. You still got 2 lanes of travel. The other lane is just primary for turning. If we're gonna get into some of these projects and we're gonna look at 20 years down the road, let's look, and we're gonna do corridor preservation. Let's do it to enable to put 4-lane highways in there. Let's put enough in there to satisfy the future and not exactly put turn lanes in right now. So that's why I say enhancement of the present project.
Yeah, but on the state's printout and on the charts I've seen, the improvement to 42 is scheduled in the time window of 2011 to 2019. So, I mean, it doesn't look like a present project to me. Now back to the $8 million. That $8 million that Representative Baker got for us, Congressman Baker got for us, is designated for 42 and 73. And I understand Representative Lambert has found an additional $3 million earmark that was unspent that we can put toward 42. I think that's where he's going with it.
What we decided to do with DOTD, the administration met with DOTD, and because of the need to get both these projects kicked off, we decided to, and the administration decided that we can, it'd be best for the parish if we move $2 million from the Highway 42 present $8 million appropriation from Highway 42, because we have a distinction of 73 in that appropriation. Move $2 million over to 73 to get that project kicked off the same time we got 42 kicked off. In fact, 73 is a little bit further along because they already went through the stage 0, where we at stage 0 with Highway 42. That $2 million being replaced into that funding from the $3 million from the OT bill back on 42. The only place that $3 million can be spent is on 42. So you're correct. $2 million is moved over to get 73 working. $3 million is being supplemented back into 42 from the OT bill, which give it actually about $9 million on 42. And hopefully, if we can do some right-of-way, some corridor, buy-ups of right-of-way corridor preservation with some of this impact fee along 42, we may even be able to change some of the design on Highway 42 to more than what the $9 million would pay.
Well, excuse me, the improvements to 73, are you taking that just Airline Highway, or are you taking that all the way north to Bayou Manchac? Because that's 73 as well.
The present plan is from 61, Highway 61 to 70 to I-10, and the master transportation plan is actually taking it all the way to 30. But
all the way to 30? How about all the way north to Bayou Manchac to the parish line?
Right now, the present suggestion is to those limits. However, this is the decision of the council. If you want to, change, especially when we get into the DOTD plan is 61 to I-10 right now. That's it. Now, as far as the master transportation plan, it's a decision of the council. If they want to tweak this and add something to it, take something away, before it's implemented. That's the decision you have to make, or the council as a whole makes. But the DOTD plan right now is only from 61 to I-10 on 73.
Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, Bill, add 2 lanes from 2 to 4 costs per mile. I think I got extreme cost on that. What was it?
I think it's in the neighborhood of $4 million per lane mile.
Per lane, per mile.
So, in that neighborhood, I
You're
can't.
saying 8, we talking 8,
In that neighborhood.
8 million per 2 lanes? Is that?
$1.5 to $2 million per lane mile, Bill.
$1.5 to $2 million per lane mile.
So we're looking at
Now-
$4 million per mile to go from 2 lane to 4
If
lane.
you're looking at both. Now,
Depending on right of way.
exactly.
It could.
That's
That's construction costs. That's not right of way.
Not right away, not utilities.
That's
So
right.
if you figure that in, y'all got any kind of general figure on that?
Double it.
Yeah.
So we're getting back to the 8 million is what I originally came up with.
And again,
Per
going
mile.
back, the purpose of the half-cent sales tax is to do the construction part. This is setting the stage and preserving what we have. Same project, you're just preserving what you have, and you're kicking it off faster and protecting what you got. And paying for some of the engineering up front, paying for some of the surveying up front. So this all comes off of the final ticket when you get to construction. The purpose of the half-cent sales tax is to get you roughly $8.5 million or whatever per year. You bond that for 20 years, whatever the cost. You figure all the costs of these projects to do exactly what you want. And if it comes to $400 million, $500 million, you bond that. If it takes you 20 years, pay off with $8 million a year, you bond that I'm not a bonding attorney, but you bond that money for 20 years, you get your $450, $500 million, and you go out and you start doing your construction. While you're doing that, your impact fees are continuing moving ahead of you, getting that right of way, working on, in conjunction with that money that you have, hopefully, getting a share, using it for sharing with federal funds to buy up some of this, do some engineering, buy up some of this right of way. So again, they work together on the same projects, and you're moving forward.
So you're saying we're going to use up $500 million of parish funding dollars for this $700 million state project,
Well, if all your projects that we just called for,
which
cost
is state
us, say,
highways,
$500
which is all
million,
state highways.
$500 million.
So
you
parish
bond.
funding is going to fund $500,000 and try to
What
get
you
federal
do,
matching funds.
You use it as much as possible. You use it for matching funds.
Mhm.
As much as possible. So that may escalate to a lot more than the $400 million. Or you may even want to just, bond half that with the hopes of getting a share from the feds to supplement the other half. Again, I'm not a bond attorney. I'm not into this. It's more advanced engineering that I'm not capable of handling tonight.
Thank you, Bill.
Mr. Chairman, Todd, and remember specifically the $700 million that the Krebs Asylum Use Study shows that we need for the next 20 years or so. That's parish, state, federal.
99% was state highways.
Not 99, but a lot
Real
of it
close.
is. But and remember the way we showed on the slide I did in the state of Parish, we showed getting $250 million of that. And it's not an exact number. You're talking to DOTD, federal highway people in the state about what can we realistically expect to get that you'll spend in Ascension Parish on federal and state roads. And some people have a misconception that a parish road cannot qualify for federal highway dollars, and that is not true. It can under certain circumstances, even though some state roads don't qualify. Okay, they're farm to market roads or whatever. So we were given a number of about $250 million we would anticipate receiving from the federal government and the state government over the next 20 years. The impact fee, and again, this is projections, and anytime you're dealing with numbers and projections, and based on population trends and budget trends of federal and state and local governments, it's just a projection. We projected $100 million, as I recall, from the impact fee, $250 million from the half-cent sales tax, and then the current 2/3 of a half-cent we have dedicated for roads in the parish to use to maintain parish roads and subdivision roads that's coming into our parish quickly are going to need work in the next few years. And that tax only brought in $45 million the last 10 years. I mean, that's it. In 10 years, which were probably the 10 best years financially in the history of our parish, that tax only brought in $45 million. And so, as you look at, so what we're trying to do here, our congressional delegation, the State Department of Transportation and Development, our state legislative delegation, locally, we're trying to form a true partnership to address our transportation needs, where all of us are putting some money into this. Now, and we could argue till the cows come home, well, that's a federal road, we shouldn't spend anything but federal money there. But some of the inconsistencies you got is that our state, for example, has a 20 cents per gallon of gasoline tax. Some states got 38 to 40 cents state gasoline tax for state road. The federal government is the same, 18.3, 18.4 throughout the nation. And that was put in when gasoline may have been $1 a gallon. We got gasoline approaching $3 a gallon now, and there is no inflationary factor built into that taxing mechanism to fund road construction, yet we all know what's happening with the cost of road construction. And so we've come up with a plan that we feel in the next 20 years will allow us as a parish to meet our transportation needs, local, state, and federal roads. Now, are we putting more money into it than, quote unquote, we probably should? Maybe so. But our citizens don't stop and think when they have a horrible road, it's a parish or a state or a federal road. They're looking at a transportation system to meet our needs. And if we truly do double our population in 20 years, just multiply the challenges that we have now by that number on our transportation system, unless we get some kind of mass transit system. And we were told today in the MPO meeting that light rail now has gone up to about 60 million a mile, and we haven't verified that yet, but it was about 40 million a mile before Katrina. And so between New Orleans and Baton Rouge is 80 miles. You multiply 80 times 60 million, and you can see what light rail would cost to try to do a mass transit system in this whole Baton Rouge area. And that's what the cities, the metropolitan areas, are trying to do, and the Federal Highway Commission dedicates money for transit, for public transportation, to try to get some of the vehicles off the roads. Because I think all of us and those who study this issue for a living know we can't build ourselves out of this congestion problem. We're not, we've got to try to deal as best we can with it, but we have to look at alternatives as well. And so if you guys of the Transportation Committee have a better plan, the administration wants to hear it. In 27 months, no one's come up and this is the perfect plan for Ascension Parish. And so we've been paying people, a lot of consultants to help us, from impact fee people to engineers to planners. And we know we need about $700 million. And that price may go up too with inflation, but there's some inflation factors built into that. And so, and even this plan doesn't reach $700 million. It comes pretty close, but it's not the total amount of money there. But I think it's $635 million it comes to, if those projections are accurate between the state, the federal, and the local funding. Now, keep in mind, when we do work on a state road, and we put up the 20% match that the federal government required, the state then the state many times has some construction dollars from the federal government and DOTD. And so we're competing with other communities in the state for those dollars, and if we have a local match and the other communities don't, that enhances our ability to, okay, we'll put up that match. We'll put up that match with right-of-way or design engineering work. And they'll give us that 80% for construction and start the project. So we're trying to leapfrog ahead on some of these projects by having some local money to put into the game. And that's important. And then that doesn't say we can't bill or send a bill to a state. I mean, Mayor Holden in Baton Rouge, a lot of their green light plan is state road. They're going to send a bill to the state for what they spend on state road. But the experience has probably been you're not sure when you're going to get it back. So we can say, okay, we spent $250 million in Ascension Parish, which should have been state highway dollars. over the next 20 years. Here's our bill, Mr. DOTD, whoever's governor and over DOTD during that 20-year term. I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for it to come back, but obviously we're going to send the bill to them because we did, quote-unquote, work they should have done in the fastest-growing parish in the state. And Kip Holdings and President Ho, they're going to do the same thing with their green light plan, but there's no guarantee that they're going to get their money back or we're going to get our money back. Now, obviously, it'd be great if we got it, but then we can truly put it in truly parish road projects.
And I see your point, far as the matching funds. I'm aware of that, and I know Baton Rouge is progressing because of it. But right at the present, we can't maintain our own parish roads. We have a lot of parish roads that need to be taken care of now before we take any new subdivision roads in. And we have a large amount of new roads that we took in with subdivisions in the last 5 years. It could be, Bill probably can come up with the numbers. It's plenty.
I think we have over
within
600 miles now.
5 to 10 years, we can't maintain what we have now parish-wide. There's a lot of roads on the list right now that needs to be done. But we can only do $2 million a year. So I guess the reason, why I'm keep pushing state, I'd rather see parish get taken care of the parish first and then proceed with what we have extra to go to the state.
Well, again, if and I have to, object a little bit to what you said. Our rideability, the problem with state highways is capacity, and you got some rideability, some safety hazards. The problem with parish roads is really some of them weren't built to standards. We need to, whenever we go back in, and we need to widen some of them. But that has nothing to do with the new road we're taking in, which is subdivision roads. This is our old road that's been existing for years. We're slowly doing that on our nickel. This frees us up if we have money coming in dedicated not only, and you notice in the plan, is to do Roddy Road, the widening of Roddy Road, the rest of the way from what we plan to do from 621 all the way to 61, and that's putting a straight shot, a to state standard, to AASHTO standard road from LA 42 all the way to 61. And there's nothing to say that we cannot put in this plan if there are main arterial roads, parish roads that you'd like to see improved also. We definitely can put it into the plan too. But we have, be honest with you, we have enough money to maintain our parish roads, especially the subdivision roads, because basically we're looking at overlay on most of those highways, upkeep and overlay, and as we get better at pavement management, these roads should, and inspection and construction oversight, by our engineers, we're going to be able to make these roads last longer. So I feel that we do have enough money to maintain parish roads, the major arterial parish roads that need to be enlarged and enhanced, put them in the program too, and let's do it as part of our master transportation plan, and we get everything done.
Well, I agree with Mr. Rue on one thing. Residents of Ascension Parish couldn't care less whether Highway 44 is a parish road, a state road, or interstate. They want it fixed. They're looking for us to do it. They're looking for us to figure out how to do it. And I do like the idea of us putting up seed money, I guess basically what it would be for us to jump over other people's. And in my discussions with the state, DODT, simply is, and our legislative group, they're not going to come out and bring money to start projects here. But if we start projects and if we put out the seed money, there's monies available then. And I think that's the only way we're going to bring these projects forward. I agree with you 100% on that philosophy, especially after numerous discussions with them. And as I say, I think we can get by overlaying our parish roads, but our people travel every day over state roads, and we need to figure out how we need to improve them, and whatever it takes, we need to move forward and do that. So,
can I make one other comment?
I support that.
And it has to do with the fact that years ago, and I think people right now are applauding the fact that people in Ascension Parish had imagination. They stood up and they say, we're going to do something that no other parish around here that we know of does. We're going to pump the center of the parish. We're going to drain the center of the parish. We're going to levee and pump, and we're going to make it happen. And I think right now the people are applauding us. One of few parishes that ever did it, and it's works. We made something happen. It's something for the future, and we keep expanding on that forever. This is another thing that we think that is innovative, that we can move forward on, and in 20 years from now, it'll benefit the parish much more than anything else we ever done, I think.
Bill, I know you talked primarily about impact fees, but looking at your last page of your handout on the respective funding responsibilities, under the half-cent sales tax, as per the master transportation plan, I see item number 12. We've got street lighting. That's something that the administration is looking at that we might be able to do on a parish-wide basis if we pass the half-cent sales tax, maybe eliminate the millage that's being collected in the 7 lighting districts, and just do parish-wide street lighting.
This is really something we haven't thought a lot about. Mainly what we're saying is when you go in and you build a major highway. Now, we're not talking about a rural road. We're talking about a major highway through the parish, that you build it right, which includes lights, which is, center lights, much like you talk about the center of Gonzales or something like this, So you add the lights to it. Now, you're probably going to still have to maintain a lighting district to maintain those lights. But at least for the construction part of the lights, be paid for out of the construction funds for the road project itself. So I would think you have to keep the impact fee. Now, it might be a lesser amount just for the maintenance of the lights. But that's just our thoughts on it right now.